Today we're going to start a new project, a really big project at that. GMODISM. We're going to make a superior battleship. And you might think, GMODISM, what the hell? What is this, like superior battleship? Isn't that a little bit bad attitude? No, because my requirement is that it will be superior to the Draconia. It also needs to be superior to the Ragnarok 2.0 made by Brenzo, which you've seen that series too. It's a nice one. If you haven't, you should check it out. And it is a bit more expensive than the Draconia, but it still beats the Draconia. So I kind of feel like I need to come up with something that can like do like that to all the other battleships. So that's kind of cool. In any case, we're going to build a new battleship project, and I got some requirements which I'm going to show you right now. The project is called Q for now, and its objectives are 1. Beat the Ragnarok at lower materials than the Ragnarok. Now, the Ragnarok tournament thing has some other rules, but I won't adhere to these rules really. I got my own rules, but I will take some inspiration from those rules. The second requirement is to beat the Draconia and Borderwise's Titan Slang. The Draconia can beat the Titan Slang, but not all of the time. It usually does, but not always. Which is why I want to make that the new ship I'm making should be able to always beat Borderwise's Titan Slang Mark 1 and Mark 2, because in some sense I think Mark 1 is actually a little bit stronger. It has better crams. 3, and most importantly, is to look good. So I made a big boy called the Broadsword. You've seen that. It looks pretty cool, and I like that aesthetic a little bit. I did that a little bit for the Fred Battlecruiser for Captain Scoobrocks, but I did a little bit of that aesthetic, but I want a big ship with aesthetic. So the Ragnarok is like 2.2 million, so that's where we're aiming at, basically, under 2.2 million. I learned a lot of new things since I made the Draconia, so I think I will be able to do a better ship than the Drac. So here we have the ship I'm trying to make. I want a little flat, thinner front like this, and I want this like cast iron style here. And then it's gonna be a pretty thick ship, like this. It's gonna have a lot of empty space. And I want a normal back there, and I want turrets stacked in different levels. We're probably gonna go with some main weapons of Cram, and we're gonna have some auxiliary sniper cannons. Then I'm gonna make a pretty high superstructure. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna design this, we'll see as we go. But this superstructure will be very important to get that broadsword look. I can insert a little picture of the broadsword here so you can see what I'm talking about.
Alright, so here we are, literally in from the depth. Right, so we should begin with construction, and the first iteration I will show you is this beast. So I'm trying to do a really cost-saving maneuver here. I really want to only have like armor where it matters and just skip it where it doesn't matter. So since it's very, very uncommon with submarines that go underneath you and shoot upwards, I kind of feel like I don't want to spend too much on armoring it too much from below, except the turrets. We're gonna have some pretty light armor where it doesn't matter, so we're actually gonna have a pretty thin bottom ship. Alright, so we have some weapons on here too. And this is my never used before except in some other videos perhaps, but it's pretty new. This is the Crusher. So if we go to sub-objects mode, cram turrets. By the way, all my Patreons can access all of my turrets and prefabs if you want to have them. That's the way. $1 a month. Right, so here we have it. This is the Crusher. And it is a turret 17. I might release some turrets to the public sometime, however, but I don't know which of them. I have so many. In any case, this is the Crusher. It costs 171,000 materials. it is what you would say a complete tank of lamps. Like each of the, like this shell here, it has 143,000 health, and the middle have 130,000, and this one the same. And you can see they are 15 seconds, 18 seconds. They come pretty frequently, so they are big shots. And these are, of course, hollow point. So these will crumple and crush most armor types bit by bit. There is nothing that can defend you against this except deflecting the shots. So that's what I wanted to have, because I do know that the Ragnarök 2.0 has some extremely formidable CVs and LAM system. Like the budget for those is unusually high. That thing has better civs and lambs, or a more expensive better civs and lambs than most ships of that price range, I'd say. So I really need something to get through, and I am pretty certain that these boys will get through. It's a pure hardener, and it has a hollow point thing somewhere. Here, these are actually the stoners. So these are the crushers, and these are the stoner class B mortar turret. And I'm thinking to have 6 of these mortars, because if anything doesn't confuse lambs as much as mortars, I don't know what does, because this is also a hollow point, by the way. They will go through, deal a lot of damage to the deck, really remove the deck armor, because most people use very thin deck armor. And they will occupy the lambs, which will make it so that our crams can probably get through. Well, that's the first iteration. For my second iteration, I have added the... these are completely crazy. These are my mini bolters. And we looked a little bit about them on them at the adventure mode. It's 125 millimeter. They're pretty crazy. I don't know if I have a fire control computer somewhere. In that case, I think we should add one and check them out a little bit. Just check the sound of them, because I love the sound of them. Okay. Listen. Isn't that beautiful? And here we have the regular bolter. As I said, we looked at them a little bit in adventure mode, and like this thing fires pretty quickly. It has a RPM of, well, 2000, and this thing has an RPM of close to 200. So they're pretty fast firing, shoots a pretty good party mix. I can show you this. I'm sure all of you don't watch my adventure mode. So this is Squash Head and Super Cavitation, so we can shoot underwater line. This is Armor Piercing Secondary Heat, also Super Cav. And then we have a Visible Tracer with a skimmer tip, so it bounces. It doesn't hit things underwater, it only hits things above. It kind of bounces off and hits the superstructure, and that's EMP to deal some AP EMP type of damage, because the skimmer tip also has some AP capabilities. So you can see Armor Pierce Modifier 1.4. So basically, it's made to disable detection. This thing is a completely, it's a little bit of a different thing. I'm not sure, I think it might have 3 shells. I spent a long time designing these turrets actually, like a really long time. So the distance between the first iteration and the second is kind of long, because I spent so much time developing these turrets. Yeah, I know you already saw them in adventure mode, but this is basically where I made them, I believe, for this project here. So it's an armor piercing heat for this one. So it's a small one, or 125 millimeters, not super small. We have a hash, and then we have a disruptor conduit and EMP. So that's a little bit different, and that's because this thing shoots so fast we can weaken shields with it. And if we weaken shields, we can get through with our crams. Ain't that smart? Right, so that's what we've been doing there. We added some basic power, like these are really efficient, my little custom jet engines there. We added this little tower thing here just to kind of get a sense of where the superstructure will be. As I said before, I want to have a pretty high superstructure. And I believe that this thing actually, oh yeah, I just spammed propellers here, so it actually floats. And I did say that I wanted to not have water pumps, because water pumps just lag too much. So we're gonna skip that. Yeah. Just to test, I'm actually gonna spawn the Ragnarök, and we're gonna see if our weapons get through. So this is the first official test, and see if we can get through the civs. I'm gonna turn on God mode for this thing, because of course it doesn't have any armor. And by the way, I started to use asymmetrical armor for turrets, so all my new turrets have all the armor in the front of the turret and no armor in the back, because it's so rare that the turret faces the wrong direction. So I think that's a trade-off that's worth it. Of course, from time to time, a drone will be behind you and try to shoot, but man, we do have armored turret wells as well, so, you know, you gotta spend your materials wisely. And that's kind of the main thought behind this entire project. I'm trying to spend my materials so wisely that I just don't use like armor in a place that it's not needed. So hopefully it will pay off. And man, oh my god, how embarrassing it will be if this build doesn't defeat neither the Ragnarök, nor the Draconia, or the Titan Slang. That would be a complete failure. But you will see later on if it does that. By the way, a little update, it's up to 1.6 million, so it's starting to be expensive. I don't know how we will solve this budget, by the way, but whatever. It's Robas meal time. Here is the Ragnarök. And I wanna pause this because I wanna, god damn it, it escaped. This bar is so funny. Here it is. I hope you're hungry. Anyways. Right, so this will be kind of interesting. Oh, look at that. Many of the shots get sniped by lambs. It's so fast. You know what? I think we should turn down time a little bit. We're gonna see. Alright, so here comes the first Koran barrage. And this is like, these have loads of health, man. It's so much health. It's completely insane how much health I put in these. Ah, look at that. Look at that. Of course this is just empty air, but it's a pretty fail-safe method. Oh yes, 2 of the barrels completely gone. It's like, of course, they will be able to shoot still, but I'm thinking this is a pretty good strategy. Here we got some shots bouncing as well. And there a new cram barrage is coming in. Ah, you can see they are actually getting through. That's so nice. That's so nice, because most crams won't get through the Ragnarök. It's very good at killing cram shells. Of course, hollow point damage ain't the best, but it's something. Yeah, I think we can use big crusher crams to do this. And you might wonder why we have several barrels. Well, that's basically because if one of these shots hits our cram turrets in the right spaces, they will be completely disabled. So I thought it's a good trade-off to have several firing pieces. Even though the individual health of that shell will be lower, it's high enough that it will get through when it is a hollow point. And it adds so much redundancy with adding multiple barrels. And there are some advantages of multi-barrel turrets, but I found out that those advantages kind of decrease a little bit the larger we get. When we're really large, it's mostly redundancy that we get. If we have some smaller cram turrets, it might be more material efficient per firepower to have several barrels. But I'm gonna make a proper empirical testing video about that in the future, so we can clear that up once and for all. In any case, this test is a success. The Crusher Cram turret does get through the defenses. And there we have it, the third iteration of the ship. So, what did I do now? Well, I basically spawned everything I got that I think could fit on this system, just to see around how much this would cost. And the really bad news is that this cost 2.1 million. And as you kinda can imagine, I can't make a armor scheme that will work for this. Like, if I make an armor scheme that is gonna cover up this thing, like, after all, it's how large is this thing? It's 341 meters long. If I'm gonna make an armor scheme that would protect it, I think I will reach somewhere around 100,000 if I only use wood, like one layer. And that's of course not acceptable, we can't do that. But anyways, we'll go through a little bit and see what we got for types of weapon systems. So, here we have my Arquebalista Invictus. It is a sniper cannon that you also see in adventure mode that penetrates really deeply. And that's meant to poke holes under the waterline of enemy ships and make them sink. And that's one of the methods I thought to use to combat Waterwise's Titan Slangs and the Draconia. No, not the Draconia, that's floating. I meant, of course, the Ragnarök. I think I might want to combat them ships by having a sniper cannon that shoots holes under waterline so that they sink. And that's a good method. And this is a pretty nice 480 millimeters. These shells travel at almost 2,000 meters per second, and they are sabots. You will not stop them very easily, and they shoot a shot every 10 seconds. I'm pretty happy about this design. I am. I spent some time doing it. Here we also have a nice little like auxiliary turret, 49 millimeters, almost 400 RPM. More like, yeah, something like that. And it shoots HESH shells really to annoy and detonate any eventual era armor scheme that you might have. Here we also have the larger version of the 67mm Vigoletta system. This is the Vigoletta Mark 5, I think. This is the Vigoletta Mark 4, it's smaller. And this is of course a really nice thing shooting. I don't think it's even rail assisted. I think it's pure gunpowder. But it shoots some really dangerous shells, and they are actually sabot frag, really weird combo, but I did tests and they work better. Here we have my new Octodad diff gun. They are 479mm, just to make them a little bit smaller than 500 so we can save on the blocks a little bit. And well, that's a diff gun. It's the optimal diff setup. It's super nice, deals a lot of damage. Smaller diff cannon, what do we have here? Here is, this was used on the Slabman. If you've seen the Slabman challenge, it's there. It's also featuring on the Battle Cruiser for Captain Scuba Oxen. Here we have a stealth dagger. It's a smaller cram turret, lower tier class, but it does provide some stealthy shots because at 1300mm, the detection range is only 257, which means that a lot of the Civ systems will not have time to aim before it hits it. Now here is another little turret, I don't remember the name of this, but it's nice. Here we have my tall pipe organ. It's a really slow reload time, like over a minute. This is like 80 seconds, but they deal some decent damage. 40,000 health for this size of a turret is okay. Pretty tall though. Here we have some other cheaper systems, some even more cheap systems, and of course the laser turret that was featured on the Draconia. And as I want the lasers on this thing too, I think I want to have at least 2 laser turrets in order to not make it too volatile and too easy to take out. Pretty decent turret, and here is a laser cube. So this is a really big system that we can actually do like this. Here you can see we have some laser systems stacked up here, some basic storage, and they are connected up to each other, and they are then divided by heavy armor, and everything is EMP insulated and closed into a box. A very neat little way to make a laser system, I thought at least. So I'm gonna stick it on here because it's pretty big, and hopefully this will be powerful enough to beat the enemies. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a serious thinking session, and I'm gonna take some decisions on what of these turrets we're actually going to feature on the ship. Now, there is a small chance we'll have to let go of the mini bolter because this is a really expensive turret. I think it's over 300,000 in material cost. And while it's very cool, it's probably not that good. It's a little bit too much eggs in one basket with one firing piece. If we got taken out, a little too much of our firepower is taken out. So yeah, it might be a little bit scary. We might remove that. We'll have to think a little bit on which of these turrets we will use. What we do know, however, is that our cram systems, the mortars over there, and of course our main turrets here, they are able to get through the Ragnarök without anything else really. They're really hard to deal with. So I hope you have enjoyed this first little look. Of course, this is just the outline, initial planning of the ship. We'll see later on exactly how we will design this ship, and I'm going to explain all of my design choices. And hopefully we will make a much more powerful ship than all the previously mentioned ones. By the way, huge bonus if we make it able to beat the turtle door. That would be cool too. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this little video, and do leave a like and stay tuned. Subscribe so you can catch the next episode. This is gonna be the new cool series, I hope. So, well, I see you in future ones, and we're gonna see what we can make for a battleship. Thanks a lot for watching. If you want to support the channel, join the army of GMODISM via Patreon, the commissioned officers that is. You can join the army of GMODISM via Discord for free too. And of course, get some merch if you're inclined to get any of that. And of course, I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for liking the video. Do it if you haven't already. I'll see you next time. This is your host GMODISM, signing out.